Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Chrissy, and today I want to go through how to create a small Japanese garden. Now, I have a Japanese theme at this house, so I wanted to create a new garden up the side, so I thought it would be good to share some of my ideas and how I created this small space. Now, the first thing you want to do when you're creating any garden is, I feel, to make a plan on paper. So I will always draw a rough plan of what I'm going to be doing. So I'll have the layout of the ornaments, a layout of the patterning, and a layout of where I'm going to be putting the plants. Now, the next thing you want to do is build yourself a really good foundation. I got my paving fellow out and he built me this great garden edge. I love the colour. It just goes with the Japanese theme, and he cements it all together so it's really secure. Then I start by laying in the soil, and I'll mix in a really good manure because I also put in some compost as well. I have a compost pile, and that gives really good nourishment to the soil. So churn your soil over and do all your prep work first, because that'll make it easier when it comes to putting in the plants. Now, the first plants that I started with over here in this corner is I put some beautiful cyclamen. You can see they're just flourishing at the moment. They're obviously in the perfect spot. I personally like to mix up the colours. I got reds, pinks, and they're in a great spot. They're protected from the frost by the eave of the house, and obviously they're just very happy there. I always look for little ornaments. When I'm planning, I just look for things that pop out to me, and I just like the grey tones because it's sort of matched with the wall as well. And here you can see I've got some bulbs that are sort of coming up, getting ready for spring. Now, I've also put in a few tiny ground covers, which just help to sort of fill the space as well, and that'll start to spread come spring. Now, over here, I've actually put in some rocks. You can see that in Japanese gardens, they use rocks to create a real visual landscape. Now, I love these sort of rocks because they look so natural, so I try to put little ones around it, and I've also created almost a rock path, I guess you could say, but it's covered in autumn leaves at the moment because it's autumn here, but I actually like that, so I just leave the leaves. Don't worry too much about gardening. It's good to have a few of those natural looking things in there. Now, when it comes to shrubs in your garden, I like to get very tiny miniature things because they're very slow growing. This has beautiful foliage, and I rarely have to trim this plant, so it always stays small. And the thing about Japanese gardening is it's about having that manicured look too, so you want things that are kind of going to keep their shape without a lot of trimming. Now, when you are creating any sort of garden, particularly a Japanese garden, you need to have a feature tree or a centerpiece. I have used the Japanese maple, and it's beautiful red color. It just adds a little bit of that sort of autumn tones to the garden rather than it just being all green. It looks a little shabby at the moment, I know, but come spring that'll be really covered in beautiful leaves, so that gives a really great Japanese effect. Now, I've also got in this section here, I've got a small lantern. Lanterns are very characteristic of a Japanese garden, and I've tried to keep the ornaments in the same color tones because that creates good flow as well. I've got more cyclamen, and they're thriving as well, and I've also put in a daphne. They can be a little bit delicate, but I just love the look of the greenery, and it creates a little bit of a different height in the garden to create interest as well. You don't want everything looking uniform and looking the same. So I just love the green. It just really pops in that garden. Now, the last part of the garden I have used, I've used a lot of different sort of ground covers and little shrubs. Again, I've got the cyclamen. I've got, again, the rocks, which create a great landscape effect. I've found this gorgeous statue at a local shop, hardware store actually, and she's again in the greys, which matches the similar tones of the others, because I think you need things to sort of connect when you're doing a garden. You don't want everything to be different, or it's not sort of pleasing on the eye. I've also put a few rocks around her just to create the landscape again, and this gorgeous little shrub here actually gets little white flowers, so it'll look very Japanese style when it starts to flower in spring. Any grasses are good as well. I've put this little grass one here on the end because they actually create that softness, and it'll actually flower as well, and it'll really pick up come spring. In winter, a lot of things sort of die down here, so I've got to be very careful sort of what I use in my garden because we live in the mountains. So this again, come spring, all this garden will really pick up and there'll be a lot of flowering. So look, I hope some of these tips help you today on how to create a small Japanese garden. It's very simple. Like I said, make a plan, go through the steps and just include the elements, because a Japanese garden is about the elements. It's about using the rocks, using the greenery, using the ornaments, and just creating your own beautiful space. Okay, thanks for watching today. I really appreciate anyone subscribing to my channel. Hit that like button and I'll see you soon. Bye.